Good morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m., July 21st. Hope everybody had a good weekend. This is the first weekend in a while that I don't really see some big news coming out over a weekend, like where the markets are just insane. First weekend I can recall in a little bit. So on Friday, what did we do? We made all-time highs, and then we just sold off a little bit. Friday was OPEC, so now all that money's off the table, and now then we got to concentrate for the third Friday in August for OPEX. Okay, so now that's gone. Now, usually after an OPEX, there is some type of change in the markets. Doesn't always have to happen. Okay, but on Friday, we just basically pulled back a little bit. Specifically in the SPY, you went right back to the previous week's highs and held them. Also, the gamma flip point. Now, in my channel, I was live, and I pointed out that I wanted to see 627, the gamma flip point for the SPY, how the market reacts to it. Now, what happened on Friday for a long amount of time, almost from 11 and change to the end, the sellers were trying their hardest to take that down, and they couldn't do it. And we winded up pushing up into the close a little bit, off the gamma flip point, off the previous week's highs. All right, and I'll show you that market internals why. And I went long a couple times and just didn't get that move, but order flow and internals told me this is probably low. Okay, I'll get into that in a little bit. Also, today, what I want to do is for the prior weekend, not this past weekend, the weekend before that, I created a script in Python that I ran, and I wanted to get the weekly expected move every week. Now, one of my first mentors always used expected moves in his playbooks. So if he said, "Hey, the expected move of the S&P 500 is here," let's call it 500, and the market's trading at 510, he would literally say, "I am not longing." And I'd be like, "What? What are you talking about? This looks like a perfect long, right?" And he would just say, "Statistics state that the markets once above expected move, usually you don't get much more." And 70%, this is options math, okay? The options market's awesome, right? Because it's very transparent and it's based on math, the Black-Scholes, right? But it's very predictive as well. So every week, right, the options market tells you the expected moves, okay? And 70% of the time, the market will close inside that expected move range, right? So the prior weekend, I went into the lab, did a bunch of revisions, uh, actually and had to do some interpolation with some of the calculations on how to get the IB, especially with stocks that have wider spreads. Okay, more liquid spreads like SPY and stuff like that with dollar spread between the strikes, they're a little easier. But like Coinbase, stuff like that have $5 in between their spreads. Okay, because I'm using at the money IV calculations, right? So with the working out of that, the interpolation of that formula came out, right? And so that I did it the prior week, and I was astounded by the results. Astounded. Okay. Remember, 70% of the time stocks close within that range. All right. Astounded by that accuracy of the indicator. All right. And we'll get into that a little later, and I will share it, show you how to implement it, because I ran it for this week. Okay. I ran it for this week. Okay. And it incorporates earnings, because obviously Tesla reports, Google, Alphabet reports, so their ranges are bigger. than normal, right? Because it factors in the earnings. All right. And so I will give that out today. I'd appreciate it when I share it. You can subscribe to my channel. You can join my Discord. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile, volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the month, actually of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That all helps me find structure in the markets. Okay, that is my edge. I also use anchored VWAPs in my bread and butter market internals, and also the weekly expected move. That is going to be part of my arsenal now. And the goal of everything in trading for me is find something that makes you not trade. That's also an edge. Okay. So with this week's expected move, and I'll get into some of the from last week because I only have screenshots now. I don't have, right? However, some stocks that went over them were like AMD, Nvidia, Broadcom, Microsoft. At one point, they were over them. So I said, well, why would I long that, right? So it basically eliminated some of those trades for me. They're overextended. They're over their expected move. And boy, did they fall in line with that expected move. And I will show you that. I think one of the most glaring ones is the QQQ and Coinbase of how they closed. It was freaky. Like I said, I'll get into it. Right? Now, every morning, please join me. Subscribe, set an alert, have a cup of coffee, tea, water. Be in the shower, be in the car. Play me. I will give you the story of the markets. Why the market's doing what it's doing. The economic calendar, the market news, the earnings calendar, and a bunch of technical analysis to follow. Okay, now today I'm going to share that indicator with you. Okay, ran for this week. I will share that expected move indicator with you today. All right. And of course, the main event later on is the NASDAQ and ES futures analysis, where I give a game plan for long and shorts. Okay, for long and short trades. And once the market opens, my market internals come in handy, right? And if you join my Discord, that is Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and join up. Right? If you join up as well, I will share the expected move indicator. Okay? It is freaky. Like I said, I will talk about that in a little bit. But now, what we're going to do is we're going to get into what's moving markets, the futures watch list. Let's do it. Okay. Ethereum is going nuts right now. Okay, up 7.18%. The VIX is up 2.86%. Silver's up, I love it, up percent. 30-year bonds being bought should send yields lower. Bitcoin's up 0.80. Gold's up 0.77. Russell's up 0.68. The Dow's up 0.21. The Nasdaq's up 0.20. The ES is up 0.20. Crude down 0.20. Dollar's down 0.45. The 10-year yield is down 1.31%. 1.31. Like I said, that bond market is so unpredictable. Let's look at the Mag 7 Plus. Mag 7 Plus. All right, we got Coinbase, Bitcoin proxy up 1.87%. Tesla reports earnings. They are up 1.56%. Google reports earnings. They are up 0.83%. Apple's up 0.66%. Meta. Notice I have a check mark on Meta. Meta hit its expected move to the downside. And I believe they report earnings next week. I'm really watching it. Meta, I probably might put an options play on it. Okay. GE reported earnings last week, up 0.34. Amazon up 0.27. AMD up 0.27. AMD exceeded their expected move last week. Netflix up 0.19, had earnings last week. Berkshire Hathaway up 0.15. Boeing up 0.11. Nvidia up 0.09, also exceeded its expected move. Broadcom hit its expected move. Eli Lilly hit its expected move down to the downside. JP Morgan reported earnings last week, down 0.14, and Microsoft, the laggard, down 0.26, exceeded its expected move and fell back last week. Top sector stocks, nothing really to see there. All right, I'm going to see if there's a granular list that shows some else go. Yes, there is. Okay. Let's go into a little bit of a granular. So Block, ticker XYZ, might be added to the S&P 500. Okay, they're up 9.56%. Hess up 7.58%. Pinterest up 4.72%. Verizon reported earnings. They're up 4.55. Domino's Pizza reported earnings. They're up 2.8. I thought they had bad earnings, but we'll have to look at that. Now, lagging in this granulated list, Target retail down 1.48%, and Marvel Assemi down 1.06. That's your granular list here. We're gonna move on. Okay, two sectors. Two sectors. What do we have here? Who's leading the pack today? We have communications. That's your Google. That's your Meta. That's your Verizon. Okay, it's your Netflix. Up 0.52. Discretionary up 0.33. That's your Amazon, your Tesla, your Home Depot. Real estate up 0.31. Basic materials up 0.23. Semis up 0.20. Everything's green. Industrials up. Energy up. There's not a laggard. There's not a laggard today on the sectors list. Okay, there's not a laggard today. Okay, now moving on. We're going to look at the economic calendar. Today's very light. Very light today. All right. We have nothing today. But for this week, now, I have to make an announcement. Well, that's not an announcement. Like, I will be on vacation. So, starting Wednesday. So, Tuesday will be my last day this week. And I will see you guys the following week. Okay. So, I'll be out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just letting you know. Now, Tuesday, you have Fed Chair speaking. Chair Powell speaking. Okay. Wednesday, nothing really. Accrued inventories Thursday. S&P Global PMI, new home sales. This week is not a big week for data, but we do have what? Earnings. So let's check out those together. Now, earnings, Verizon reported, Domino's Pizza, Cleveland Cliffs, all this morning, right after the close today, NXP. All right, let's see what else here. All right, tomorrow before the open, Lockheed Martin Defensive, Coca-Cola Staple, Philip Morris, D.R. Horton, General Motors, Raytheon, another defensive. Okay. Quest Diagnostics. After the close on Tuesday, Intuitive Surgical, SAP, Enphase, Solar, right there, Solar, Capital One, Texas Instruments, Semi. Okay. Pretty decent week this week. GE Vernova. I nailed GE Vernova, boy. Woo. I just wish I bought more. I think my average price is 266. That thing is a monster. So they report, okay. Freeport McMoran, Copper and Gold. Also AT&T, General Dynamics, Hasbro, Nextera Energy. After the close on Wednesday, Tesla, Google, ServiceNow, IBM, Chipotle. Oof, big week of earnings, okay? Before they open on Thursday, American Airlines, Nokia, Dow, Southwest Airlines, Union Pacific, that is industrial, okay? NASDAQ Exchange, Keurig Dr. Pepper, Honeywell. Okay. After the close on Thursday, Intel, Semi, right? I would say Newmont. I believe that's mining. Let's see what else here is Boyd. That's a Chinese electric car, I believe, or it's a gaming. I can't remember now. I thought it was an electric car. Friday. What do we got here? Charter Communications. That's it. That's your earnings week. I just wanted to give you the whole week because I'm not going to be here the whole week. But Wednesday, I'm not going to be there. So that's your big Tesla and Google after the close. All right. That's your earnings. Now we're going to go to some news. Let's go to some news. All right. Here's the block. XYZ surged more than 9% with the fintech firm helmed by Jack Dorsey set to join the S&P 500 index. That's what I was talking about. What else? Pinterest. Morgan Stanley upgraded its outlook for social media firms. Pinterest, there you go, and Etsy. U.S. listed shares in Stellantis dipped after the Jeep manufacturer posted a preliminary first half loss of $2.3 billion. Domino's Pizza, this is what I was talking about. It's up, but reported second quarter earnings that missed analyst expectations, but sales during the period still top projections. That's why it's up. Okay. Verizon raised the lower end of its full year adjusted earnings per share forecast, while core profit in telecoms group second quarter tops estimates, lifting shares. That's it there. Okay, that's it there. The juice doesn't have much for us today. It really doesn't. Let's look at some upgrades, downgrades. Is this list upgraded? Yes, it is. Okay, let's see upgrades. Dollar Tree, Etsy, all right, Pinterest. There you go. Downgrades. Let's see. Is there any downgrades today? No downgrades. There is. It's just that list is not populated. More news. Nvidia CEOs China charm offensive underscores rockstar status in key market. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang is no stranger to Beijing, but his most recent visit, his third visit to China this year, cemented his rockstar status in the country, where fans mingled freely with AI titan on the streets of the capital. Alaska Airlines resumes operations after IT outage. Microsoft alerts businesses, governments to server software attack. Interesting. That might be why Microsoft is down today. Let's see. Anything else to talk about? Like I said, I'm only going to talk about things that. Let's see here. Nope, nope. That's about it. Let's look up breadth real quick. 57% of the S&P 500 is over their 200 simple day moving average. That is right in the middle, folks. That is half and half, basically. Okay? Half and half. I think we're done there, folks. I think we're ready for the expected move. Okay? I think we're ready for the expected move. Let's do it. Let's do it. And we're going to go right to my Discord. Okay, right to my Discord, right to my live market updates. Here is where I put this expected move up in the calendar. Now again, that's Confluence Trading, my Discord. Go to my YouTube homepage, click the link. All right, click the link. All right, so this is what I wrote on my Discord over the weekend. I said last weekend I created a script. Purpose is to show what options market priced in for the following week's expected move range, which was this past Friday. This will generate expected moves in stocks and indexes. I ran the script last week and pretty amazed how accurate this was. My script generates a think script for toss, think or swim. The green bar is expected move to the upside, the black line is Friday's close, and the red is the low part of the range. I noticed once the expected move was reached, right, stocks stalled to the downside or upside. This is just another way for me to control trading and give a filter not to trade. Stock expected move to the upside. Stock at expected move to the upside. I won't long. To the downside, I won't short. 70% of the time, stocks will close inside this range. Tell me this is not an edge. Here are some notable examples on daily charts. QQQ hit its expected move to the upside on Friday, then sold off. Other examples I will attach as well. Let's go through the examples. Look at QQQ. Expected move was right on that green bar. Look at that. Look at that. That is crazy. And you know what? I was live, and for some reason, I have that on my screen. I can't believe I didn't notice that. I'm not saying I might have just all out shorted, but I would have been like, oh, I'm not. It just hit its expected move. Amazing, right? Let's move on. Eli Lilly hit its expected move, bounced up. Meta hit its expected move, bounced up. So not only is it a not trade, I should have put this. Not only is it a not trade, it's also probably a possible trade, right? Like I saw this happen. I could have got long. I could have got long here. That's also a key. Oh, that just hit its expected move. I'm going to go long if you're confident, right? Look at that. Wick. Whoop. All right, move on. Broadcom. Look what happened. Look on Thursday. Oh, bro, look at Broadcom. Oh, closed here, right? Well, look at Friday. Opened right at its expected move. Where did it close? Down here. This is like a ceiling. And it's just like, isn't that nuts? It's nuts. All right, moving on. Google. Look at Google's wick on Friday. Remember, folks, I ran this the previous weekend. And I ran it previous weekend. That was it. Just stayed on my charts all week. Boom. Google. Let's move on. Microsoft. Look at Microsoft's Thursday. Look at that wick. Boop. And then what did we do? On Friday, oh, let's see. I'm opening up above the expected move. Sell off. It's crazy. Okay. Oh, didn't want to do that. Let's go. I was just at Microsoft. Let's go Microsoft. I think that was here. No, that's Tesla. Hold on. Hold on. Go back to Microsoft. All right. Moving on to Tesla. Tesla, there's the expected move. Stayed within the range, right? GE, expected move with earnings. Move to the top of the range, right? Nvidia. Now look, this is powerful, right? Look what we did on Monday. Expected move, couldn't go over it. Expected move, couldn't go over it, right? Expected move, this looks strong, and we closed here. What did we do on Friday? Look at that. It closed close to the expected move. Okay? Notice, all week, I didn't long Nvidia because of that. I was like, this is stretched. Moving on. Coinbase. This is the one that's like, whoa. Look at the move Coinbase made on Friday. It opened here at the expected move. It ripped all the way up to $448. $444. Look at that. And what happened? Zoom. Closed where? At the expected move. And look, you could see I have the range right here. That was from the previous weekend. And it closed about 10 cents above. Look, 419.66, 419.78 is the close on Friday. How can you deny that? I just showed you multiple examples. So it's not even like one or two. It is crazy. Okay? It is crazy. Now I'm going to share with you. Let's move on. Hopefully, I don't know how many people are seeing this. Hopefully more than a couple. Right? It's very powerful. Now, what I'm going to do is get into the chart and look at this week's expected moves. Okay? Just give me a sec while I pull that up. So powerful. Insanely powerful. Let's do it. I'm just going to pull up a diagram here. Hold on. Let me do something here. Give me 1 second, folks. And I'm going to show you how to insert it into the chart. Okay? So I'm going to show you a couple things. Let's go to the dailies. Right here. Okay? Now I've been using this software for, I don't know, 6-7 years. So I use all hotkeys and everything for the Thinkorswim. Okay? So, this is the this is the chart of SPY, right? Now, what this indicator will do, okay, we'll put bubbles up on your chart. Okay, so the bubbles up here, it will give you expected move for SPY. So this week's expected move for SPY is $10.32. It will tell you the range, and it will tell you based on the close of Friday. This is the information. With the indicator, you can choose to toggle these on or off. On some charts, I have them toggled off. On this one, I have it all on. So that's number one. Now, we're going to talk about how to see this, right? Now, in this particular chart, I don't have any expansion on the side. So what you have to do, you can hit Control S. It brings up your settings. You go to time axis. If you don't have any expansion, like I'll just put, in this case, to 10, it will shift over. Now, you can see the indicators on my chart now. You can see Friday's close and little here. I'm going to show you guys. Also, your middle mouse button brings up this. So I can push this down. So this is what this indicator will show up on your chart. It will show you the black line will be the close from Friday. That's your expected move to the upside. That's your expected move for the downside. So for the particular, the SPY, we're expecting $10.32, a close of 627.58. The range is 617.26 up to 637.90. That is your expected range for this week. Okay, that's your expected range for this week. We look at the Qs. So look, it's just going to dynamically update. Okay, as soon as I bring this up, there's your Qs. A range of $11.34. Okay, gives you the range, so on and so forth. This is how you use the indicator. Okay, it will paint it right on your chart, and it doesn't matter what time frame you set it to, it will stay there. Okay, now I'm curious all the results. I'm not going to see all the results for this week. I'll be away, but please give me your feedback. Okay, please give me your feedback. Now I'm going to share that. Okay, I'm going to share that code. Now I don't know if this will paint inside this chat room. I will also update my YouTube for this one and share the indicators. So I'm going to share it here in the chat. I'm going to see if it actually shares it. And then I'll show you guys how to use it, how to put it on. Give me 1 second here. I got to go into my charts here. Okay, here's the link. All right, let's see if this works. And please give me feedback if this works or not. All right, I'm going to paste it right in here in the chat. There it is. Okay, that is the indicator. That's the expected moves for this week. That will give you SPY, QQQ, and a bunch of other tickers. Okay, now for you to use this, on Thinkorswim, you have to go to. Now let me see if I have this chart, the whole trading chart up here. I'm not sure if I have the whole thing. I'm just going to talk you through it. And I'm going to see if this is on my. Give me 1 second here. I just want to make sure that you guys can see this. You're seeing my OBS here. Hold on. All right, so I'm going to see if I can go over here. Nope, you're not seeing it there. Let me see. All right, so in the upper corner, you're not seeing it here, but I'm going to expand it. So give me a second. Trying to see if you can actually see it. So in the right-hand corner, all right, let me do this right, because I don't want to turn out to be not giving you what's correct. So I'm going to give you some extra space here, and so I can show you guys. So bear with me. I just want to make sure, because I'm doing this on the fly, I want to make sure that I give you guys the correct way to do it. Okay, so let me make sure I'm okay. There we go. Okay. So what you're going to do, go to setup. Okay. You're going to go to open shared item. And that all you do, okay, is let me put it over here. That comes up. You're going to put the link in there. Okay, so if I put the link in, I don't know, let's see here. If I put the link in there, hit preview, you'll see Confluence Trading expected move. Okay, then you're going to import that. Okay, import. Boop. Then that should be imported. Okay, that should be imported. All right, now, next move. If you hit on the chart that you want to use it on, you are going to hit Control E, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. Okay, let me get a better. I'm going to give you a better window to really show you. Okay, give me a sec. Go back to dailies, you'll see it. Okay, here it is. What you're going to do next, okay, is hit create. I'm sorry. erase that. You don't have to create. All right, what you're going to do now is go and start typing Confluence, right? It comes up right here, right here. Okay, I already have it on my chart, but I'll put it up there anyway. See, mine's called Weekly Expected Move. You double click on Confluence Trading. That will show up right here. Okay, so I'm going to hide mine. Okay, apply it. So we'll do it, you know, wait, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. Okay, so that is loads it in. Okay, that loads it in. Now, your next move is to double click it. You will see below all the tickers that you will have the expected moves for. You'll see all the tickers with the expected moves. These up here control the line weights. I like to usually set my close line weight to a 1, makes it nice and thin. This is your green upper line, that's your red upper line. Now the bubbles here, right, are these bubbles here. You can turn them off if you don't want them on your chart. Leave them on if you do. That controls that. Okay, so it gives you all the closes and all of these tickers. Okay, you can change the color if you want. You could you can go to each one and say, oh, I want Avgo to be this color, whatever. That's what it is. Once it's up there, you can hit OK. See, for me, I'm gonna get rid of this because I already have it up on my chart, right? So you guys keep it there. Hit OK. Okay. Now you guys tell me is anybody doing this with me? If not, that's fine. I just want to see if anybody's actually doing it with me to confirm that they're seeing it on their chart, which you should be. Okay. Go back and watch it. Like I said, I'm going to share the link also back on this feed, on this stream, so you guys can also, if you didn't copy it from here, I'll put it up there. I'm also going to share it on the Discord, so join the Discord. Okay. Now, we're going to move on. All right. Give me one sec here. And again, that's Confluence Trading, the Discord. I will share it there as well. Okay. So join up there. Go to my YouTube homepage and join up the Discord. All right. Now, I hope that was clear of what I did. Okay. Hopefully that was clear. Please tell me what you think of it during the week. I'm sure, and nothing's perfect, but that was a lot of evidence that I showed you about those expected moves, and how you can use them. That's edge. That's crazy. Okay. Now, I have to run that every weekend. I also have the script that I can dynamically update it as the week goes. I don't find that as powerful as just doing it from the Friday close. I don't find it as powerful. Okay, it really changes it based on every day's close. I don't really like that. I like doing it over the weekend. Okay, so I have to run this every weekend. All right, that is your expected move. Please let me know what you think of it. All right, so I'm gonna hand this out on my Discord. Put it on the stream after this. I'll put it back. That link. Okay, that link. That is that. All right, that's the expected move. Now, let's get back into the daily charts. Okay, you can see here with these quick keys. I'm just gonna for how I like to look at the charts. All right, let's analyze these daily charts. Okay, just wanted to share with you that expected move script, that indicator, because it's gold. All right, I worked in the lab with Python script. I'm on my 6th revision of that script. So that's the rollout you guys are getting now. That's the 6th revision of the script. Like I said, I had to do some things with interpolating the IV, and basically, like I said, it uses the at the money strike IV and then it determines, whatever. You don't even got to know all that. Bottom line is it works. Okay? Now, moving on. Dailies. Let's look at this. Let's look at our market. All right, let's look at this market. Now, Documents was with me on Friday morning. On Friday. Okay? And I told him about the internals, and we'll look at that just real quick. Okay? A little tip about the market internals, the window that I have. Okay? I'm going to show you that real quick. So, look at the internals. Pretty weak trending today, right? Got a lot of red and pink up there. 6300 SPX gamma level is monster. That's a monster level, okay? Now, this looks pretty weak, right? What I told Documents here when we were live, I said we are at last week's highs. And I told him these ratios are very important. Okay? The NYSE, this is the New York Stock Exchange. This is your NASDAQ exchange. Let's just say they have almost 3,000 stocks on each exchange. That's 6,000 stocks. Okay, keep that in mind. These ratios are based on the prior day's close. Okay, they will be red if there's more sellers than buyers. They will be green if there's more buyers than sellers. And what this tells you is, in this case, there's a 1.16 to 1 ratio, which is not a lot, of more volume going into down stocks than up stocks based on the prior close. Okay? That is not an indicator of weakness. That is benign. That is not much to worry about. So when we were bouncing here, and this is the SPX, I was saying this is telling me there's not a lower move in the markets. It's not weak enough unless it grows. Look at the NASDAQ exchange, 1.09 to 1. There was a little more buying going into up stocks, right, than down stocks. Benign. Okay? Hence, we did not move much lower. This is the power of what's going on under the hood of the market. It's another edge. So I was not going to short this, even though my internals were telling me, but we're weak. And then you can even attest, Documents can probably attest. He kept saying to me, yeah, but the internals are so weak. The internals are so weak. And I said to him, the internals are one piece of the puzzle because you have to look at what? The daily chart. What we did, the story. We just broke out and we're holding last week's highs. I told him if we accept below last week's highs, that is a different story. Right? And I said we're just at this level and these internals are telling me we can't go lower. Okay? And the other thing here in the internals is the S&P 500. This tells you, priced on the prior day's close, how many stocks are advancing versus declining. Okay? That number is 12 when we closed. Just to give you an example what that means. Close to zero means 250 stocks were above the prior day close, 250 stocks were below. 50-50. The NASDAQ 100, same thing. Now remember, this is the actual market. The NYSE and the NASDAQ are exchanges. They are 3,000 stocks. This is actually the market, 500 stocks. That's what the market moves on, not this. Okay? It's a little more granular. The NASDAQ 100 was a 2. Basically 48 and 50. 50 stocks advancing to 48 declining in the prior day's close. That means there's no winner. There's nothing there. Okay? It's just in the middle. It's a parity. Hence, we didn't move lower. Okay? That's the market internals. I'm getting granular today. I hope it's not over too many people's heads. I hope I'm explaining it as best as I can. But if you go to my Discord every day, okay, and this is what I'll tell you right now, okay, if you go to my Discord, I know I'm like promoing the hell out of my Discord, but why not, right? It's my Discord. I'll tell you this, all right, if you go and join my Discord on YouTube homepage, okay, let me flash it up there one more time, all right, and you go down to education, click on market internals. There's a link here where I explain that window in detail. Check it out. Check it out because I explain every bubble, everything in that window in detail and what that tells you. Okay? That's the internals. That's the internals, okay? So, to wrap that up and just look at the internals real quickly, picture this like the human body: hearts, lungs, kidneys, liver, blood pressure. That's this window. Tells me all I need to know about that market. Okay? Documents can attest that plenty of times the market's been ripping up and I'm like, yo, internals are not even strong. I don't trust this at all. I call the market's bluff and boom, the next thing you know, the market's selling off. It's it's amazing. Okay? That's why I try to share these nuggets. All right? Now we go back to the daily charts. All right? Mark, I'm not sure. Are you seeing my feed every day? I haven't seen you. I'm not even sure you're in the markets. But if you're still listening, how you doing, my man? All right. So let's go to the dailies. All right. Let's go to the dailies. Go back to that SPY, and we'll go on with the channel. All right. Look at that. Look at that. Last week's highs. That was the wick, and we could not hold below it. Structure is king. This is structure, right? Breakout, hold last week's highs. Well, doesn't matter how weak we look unless we break this and start going back into range. Where are we now? 628.85. Yeah, we're up. We are. Let's get up here. We are 628.85. We are right here. I would say we're at the upper third of the session on the SPY. Let's look at futures. Futures. Look at that. We wicked up. We're right here. Okay. We're right here. Now you can see in futures it's giving me last week's range. We hit last week's highs basically in futures, pulled back. All right, Qs. Now I'm a little long-winded today. Probably going to skip the triple-headed monster just for time. Okay. Here's your Qs. Okay, Qs. We are at 562.30. 562.30 brings us right here. You're in the middle of the range. Horrible, horrible trade location in the Qs. Let's look at those futures. Right here. Kind of like a doji, right? We got relatively low volume today. Let's look at that relative volume here. We're at, in the ES, 62%. That is not good volume. We are at 67% in the NASDAQ. That is summer volume right there. Right? Not the best. Not the best. Okay? Now, we're done there. I'm going to skip triple-headed. We're pulling back a little bit right now. And I'm going to skip the hourly chart. Okay? We're going to get right into the market profile and volume profile. Okay? We're going to get right into that. So give me a second. I'm going to go and switch to the workspace. And we'll get right into the analysis. Okay? Right into that analysis. All right. And the first thing we do is we look at our rolling composite weekly volume profile. All right. And this is the ES. We got this, we got value area starting here, and we started in a little distribution up here. Okay. Now, what do I always say? Right? If you move that most traded price of the week up, that's bullish. Right? Well, the market has done that. Congratulations, market. 63.35 is your new most traded price of the week. All right. Markets just moved, had value follow price. Value was down here, it moved it. Welcome to a bullish sign. That's a feather in the cap for the bulls. That's the structure, not price action, telling you, oh, you just move value higher? Yep. Now, let's get into levels. All right, right off the bat. Remember, I do this live with you. I haven't analyzed this at all. I do it live. All right, so let's look at this together. We have a kind of an incomplete tail on Friday. Right here, that's incomplete. Usually like want to see a tail. There is not a tail there. That might need to be corrected. Okay. We do have a very special level here. This is last week's highs. That is 63.57. This is now a confluence high with this supply zone right here. That is a very important resistance. All right, we were there. Beauty of the market profile here is I split out every real-time trading hour in a shaded area, a lightly shaded area, and the dark areas are real-time trading hours. All right, that's the beauty of looking at it, the markets this way. I can break down the overnight session versus the real-time trading. It's priceless. All right, priceless. Now, what do we have? We have a very thin profile here. Okay, and let's look at this here. What do we have here? The overnight lows, which is your 63.29s, right, lines up with this demand and your most traded price of the week and of Friday. Bulls want to hold that. Okay, bulls want to hold that level. Okay, bulls want to hold that level. Now here's your weakish, poor structure here. Right, that's a poor structure at the lows of Friday. Okay, that is people being stuck shorts at bad location. Right, that's shorts being stuck and eventually be moved away. Well, if you return back here, I would expect to put a little tail in. What would that mean? That would mean if the market came down here, they'd probably put it like a whoop and could possibly move higher, could possibly move lower as well. Okay, so let's get on with. Then we have a nice demand zone right here. That's why I was saying that. Nice demand, and then we have our most traded price of the month down here at your 63.03s. All right, this is what we're working with, folks. This is what we're working with. And now we're going to open up this overnight session. We're going to get right into the scenarios here. All right, let's do it. Right now, we're at the most traded price of the overnight right now. Okay, we were up here, we're pulling back. All right, inside Friday's session. Okay, so we're in demand, folks. In demand. Where we're going to go? That 63.35 right here. Okay, so if I'm a bull, remember, we got to defend this level, 63.35s. Okay, boom, right here. I want to see a nice test. If you reclaim that level, whoop, I think we break out of this 63.55 resistance and we could melt up. Don't know how high we go, but that is possible. Now, why do I say that? Because this overnight high, 63.57, is your all-time high right now, and that's never secure. You never have an overnight high be the all-time high. Okay? That's why I think this move is very much possible. That is your 63.35 is a very crucial level. Very crucial. Now, right? What else could happen? Well, I can also see a bear trap where if the market impulsively rips down where to Friday's low, 63.23, and if it impulsively with not much weakness in internals comes into this demand and you get this, remember I said this needs a tail, right? If you get that, recover some higher lows, work yourself up, see if you can reclaim this level. That's probably all I would like. Okay? Now, of course, we could also push up, hold this level, and go higher. All right? But I like to give you my more golden setups for myself. Okay? Now, as far as the short side, remember, we already have our key levels. Okay? What I want to see is what do we do with this 63.35 level? That's my decision, okay, based on structure. If we take it out, now remember, this is the most traded price of the last week and a Friday, right here. If we take that out and we hold, retest, what are you going to do? You're going to, this poor structure from Friday's lows, probably going to make a little tail, and you're going to say, hello, probably down to here, 63.10s. All right? And then eventually to your most traded price of the month, 63.03. That would be a nice move, and you might bounce from here. If it gets really bad, you take this out and you find acceptance below this level, retest it, you're going lower, and now it's really not good, and we could go back to the previous week's lows, 62.41, because that is balance rules. Balance rules. Okay? If you break out and fail, go back into range, you go back to the other side of balance. That is balance rules. That's just how it works. All these longs will have to liquidate. It's just how balance works. Okay? I'm not calling for it, just saying that's a scenario. Now, what else could we do? We could come up, push up, break last week's highs, get a couple lower highs, and go back into range. Okay? Market's frothy. Okay, it is. Now, those expected moves are some of my giving me pause. When Microsoft hits its expected move, do I want a really long there? That's giving you a sign, right? So have those expected moves up today on your chart. Sometimes they get reacted to today. Okay? And then you'll see how the stock reacts. All right. Moving on. NASDAQ, and we'll finish it up here. I know I've given you a long-winded day today. That's why I skipped some of my analysis, but we're still going to give you those long and short trade scenarios. All right. Here's our NASDAQ. Woo, that's a nice level. I'm already seeing it. All right. Nice level here. Let's look at it. All right. Profile, kind of couple distributions. Now, you have moved your most traded week up as well. So this is your 23150. That's your most traded price of this week. Write it down. Okay. Your monster level, still your 230. That's your most traded price of the week. Also is your month to date anchored VWAP right there. Okay. Now notice the NASDAQ structure is elevated above these levels more than the ES is. More than the ES is. Okay. Now, what's our level to look at? We have supply. In the 23320, let's call it, this area is a confluence high. You have many tests of this area. And what do we have else here? The overnight high is the all-time high. That is not secure, folks. I already told you that. That is not a secure high. Most likely will be broken. Most likely will be broken. Okay? So, What's our level? Look at that. It just, you can't make this stuff up. All right. Look at our demand zone. This is where price is. Look at this demand. What does this encompass? Look at this overnight low right here. Where is that on? That little magenta box is the most traded price of Friday. You can't make this up. That's Friday's VPOC where you got buying. This box also includes the close of Friday. Now we did look like we took out this demand zone. Let's hold on. Let's open this up. Let's see. Yes, we did. We broke this demand. Well, let's get rid of that demand. Now we're in a new demand. Okay. And look at the structure. Okay. We do have demands in here. Okay. A lot of demands. Okay. That just means big moves. There's buyers there. Right. So it's a different structure than the ES. Okay. It's a different structure. It's more bullish. It's more bullish because you have the most traded price of the week all the way down here. This probably might rotate to here. Okay, it probably will. You can see the high volume node here. It probably will readjust today. Okay, so this becomes an important level. Now, again, what do I want to see? I want to see, look at all this volume that's traded in Friday. That's the most traded price. Okay, how does the market react to this most traded price? Does it just come down to it again, go to the overnight low, and just get some lower highs, some higher lows, I mean, and you could start moving up? Okay, so let's get into scenarios and we'll be done with it. Okay, all right, let's do it. Let's do it. All right, so demand zone, most traded price, close, all that stuff, overnight low, a lot of confluence. Come down here, what do I want to see? Support, some higher lows, and then see, you test. This is the most traded price at a 24-hour. I don't want to confuse anybody, but there's a high volume node here. You got to reclaim this, and what are you going to do? You're going to go to last week's highs and see if you can bust and make new all-time highs. That's the golden setup here. It's number one. Okay, you could also do a little berry trap and do the same thing. Now, you have another level to bounce off, 23150. If the market does this quickly, I'd like it quick. Take out this most traded price. Hit this 23150. This is also a demand. Right? Whatever you do with it, reclaim it, retest it, long. Below this, I'm probably not interested in longs. Okay? That's going to keep me long bias. Okay? Now, shorts. Okay, shorts. All right, it's all about this level, 223204. That's your most traded price of Friday. Okay, right here. Overnight lows. Okay, so what do I want to see if I'm short? Right? Well, two things. If the market opens, rips through the close of Friday, takes out this level. Now, it could rip through it, but let's say it takes it out, tries to go, of course it fails, goes back through. Well, yeah, you're going to take out Friday's lows. You're going to test 23150. Underneath this, boom, does this, finds acceptance, retests. You have a lot of demand here, okay? But you'd have thin volume right in this session. So this could rip back to 230. Just like I said with the ES. This would be a look above and fail. If you come up through, you're going down, boy. And you're going back to that 22830 level. Okay? That's just how the market works. Look at all the longs here. I got long here. I move my stop to here. I got long here. I move my stop to here. Right? They all got paid. Now, these stops have not touched, right? So then you got a low on Friday, and now you got a higher low in the overnight low. So a lot of these longs are not hurt. But what if you take this boy out and take this level out? Yeah, they're gonna be. Okay, what else can happen? Push up, make new all-time highs, come back through here, and then you probably get this move. Okay, that's scenarios. That's it, folks. Now, gave you a bunch of gold nuggets. Give me a thumbs up, a like if you enjoyed my analysis, right? Also gave you that indicator in the chat. Also gave you that indicator in the chat. That's the weekly expected move. Okay. Once you put the code and do just like I showed you earlier in the stream, you will see all the tickers inside that code. You'll see it. When you double click on the indicator, you'll see all the tickers that you'll get the expected moves for. Okay. Let me know how it works for you and see how the week transpires with those moves. I'm telling you, I'm sure there are going to be some ones you're going to be like, yo, what the heck? Yeah, I know. That's the beauty of options. Options market is very transparent. Everybody's orders are right there. They're not hidden. In the options market, the Black Scholes that won a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know if it's Nobel Peace Prize, but a Nobel Prize, and I think it's a Nobel Peace Prize, but they won the Nobel Prize for that formula of Black Scholes. Okay, so if anybody knows anything about options, options are all based on probabilities. It's baked in. It tells you, Delta actually tells you the percent chance that this is going to happen. Right? So that's awesome. Right? That's awesome. All right. Now, of course, if you do enjoy this, subscribe, send an alert to my channel. I will update that weekly expected move in this stream, so you can also find it there because the chat will go away. All right, I'll put it on there. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. In this video, I have the tutorial, which I will put a link back on my Discord as well to just go to that point in time. Okay, just go to that point in time. And of course, if you want to join me today live for my live commentary, where use me as your indicator, I always say, use me as your indicator. Confluence Trading, Discord, go to my YouTube homepage, join the link. You'll see my live commentary on what I think's going on under the hood. Okay? Trust me, I would not steer you wrong. It's just not going to happen. Okay? All right? Remember, those internals cannot outperform. The market can't do more than what the inside under the hood is telling me. Okay? Can't. Just can't do it. Right? So, hope to see everybody there. Right? Everybody have a great day. Remember, we just came up with the game plan. The game plan. So, let's follow our plan. Remember, no trade is a trade. Cash is a position. It's Monday. Got low volume. I'm not expecting fireworks, but there might be a trade in there. Okay? And I will scour stocks and come up with a game plan. All right? And if you want to know all that stuff, I'll see you in Discord. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow.